this counseling after all these years.
Hi, I'm Bill Tell, and I serve as Chief of Staff to our President, Doug Menke, and serve as a member of the National Leadership Team. What I want to do today is just share with you some thoughts on brokenness out of my own life. From August of 1999 to August of 2000, I was relieved of all my navigator responsibilities, all my leadership responsibilities, everything. Basically had a full year of sick leave. And I was diagnosed with severe depression and severe burnout. During that time, I couldn't read anything. I couldn't read the newspaper. I couldn't even read my Bible. You know, I would sit in my lazy boy chair every day just trying to survive, and every thought was negative. It was hopeless panic attacks that would just leave me incredibly frightened, incredibly scared. First time in my life ever, I couldn't channel my thinking or control my thoughts. Finally, I had to go on medication, I had to go on antidepressants in order just to get some control over my life again. One of the things I had to learn was that having a deeply emotional experience is not brokenness. And I also had to learn that being so emotionally depleted and distraught that I was totally dysfunctional was not brokenness. And for months I suffered, but that wasn't brokenness. My story actually started at Ellis Island in New York City. That was the year my mom immigrated into our country from the Netherlands. My mom ran away from home. So Mom was a 16-year-old runaway in the Great Depression in New York. Now you can imagine some of the baggage that Mom collected as a result of that experience. I can remember then, as a young boy, probably 4 or 5 years old, Mom would grab me by the hand, and we'd get on the bus and we'd go down to the ghetto where there were these permanent rummage sales. We call them garage sales today, I think. And there would be these tables and tables of just old clothes stacked up for a dime and a nickel and a quarter. And we would spend like half day down there as Mom would sort through the clothes. And as a young boy, I just hated it. But fast forward to high school, when styles are so incredibly important. I'd say, Mom, can I have a shirt like this, or a sweater like this, or a jacket like that? And the answer was always no, because those clothes were never on the sale table at the end of the season. And I can remember going through high school, I don't think I ever had really one shirt or sweater or jacket, etc., that I really wanted. Now, all of this, you need to understand, my dad was an engineer for Eastman Kodak, who had an in-ground swimming pool in the backyard, and so forth. So you can see Mom's baggage coming down and influencing the kids. You know, Mom never intended to wound me, but her unresolved issues severely affected me. As a young adolescent, a lie got planted in me. And I think the lie that was planted in me as a young teenager was this: Bill, you don't have much worth. And I think the vow I made as a young boy was this: I will prove to you I have worth. I will figure out every expectation you have of me, and I will meet and exceed them. And that became my strategy for living. And that was my template for life till about 9-10 years ago, when I experienced the burnout and the depression, and so forth. And I became an addicted people pleaser. That was how I lived. And all through this time, when I was trying to meet people's expectations, it was 30 years of loneliness. But moving to the Springs, National Leadership Team, Student Ministries Director, Staff Conference Director, just it was convergence of all these people that I had to please. And it was more than my strategy for living, it was more than my energy could ever do. You know, in my life, and I think from my perspective, brokenness is not the circumstances of my life that have come upon me. But brokenness, the foundation of brokenness, is a realization that I can do nothing about my sin. I can do nothing about my shame. I can do nothing to fix myself. And I have to turn to God. It's dependency upon my Father. And when I come to that point, I think the door to brokenness is opened. I'm not where I used to be. It came as a result of And I think God then takes the pieces, of your brokenness and heals you and gives you something new.
Wow. Good.
So that was a pretty neat testimony, and it shows that if we believe a lie, it can affect the rest of our lives. The lie he believed was that he was not worth much, and that just came from something simple. I mean, we're not even talking severe things like he was screamed at or told he was stupid or those kind of pronouncements. That was just his mom having an issue with not wanting to spend money because of what she came from. And he took that as to mean he didn't have much worth. And then because of that lie, he made that unbiblical vow that said, I will prove to everyone that I have worth. And his strategy became how he made himself a people pleaser to meet and exceed, he said, everybody's expectations of him. Well, you can see where that got him. Complete and utter despair, where he was so depressed he couldn't even read for a whole year. But remember he said that despair, that depression, that loneliness, that wasn't brokenness. Brokenness came when he realized there was nothing he could do to fix himself to be everything that he thought he should be. He had to completely depend on his Heavenly Father. And that is what this is all about. It's that complete trust in our Heavenly Father. And if we're not at that place, we're trusting in ourselves. When we've been hurt, we might try to put some sort of protection around us, and that's where these unbiblical vows and strategies come in. And an unbiblical vow is just defined as a strong decision, oath, or a declaration of what we will or will not do in order to protect ourselves from pain or further hurt or to obtain what we feel we need. That's just the definition of it. And a strategy refers to a largely unconscious plan. We're not planning these things. We're not thinking these through. It's just it comes about as a way to protect ourselves. So it's a plan, a method, or a series of maneuvers that help us obtain what it is that we vow. Again, it is so important that we address these unbiblical vows in our lives, which if you've asked yourself this week, if you've asked the Lord to show you this week, if you have made any unbiblical vows in your life, you'll find that it is traced to a root, like his was, to a root or a lie that was planted in us. And so, again, it gets back to those roots and then what comes of that, what kind of fruit comes of that. So it's so important that we go to the Lord and ask him if we have any of these in our lives. And then I gave you some sample prayers in the lesson that you could pray to actually renounce them. It's important to break and sever that you've had in your life for a very long time. We can go off on a tangent, can't we, for years and not even realize how far off we've gotten because we might have made some sort of unbiblical vow in our lives and then followed through with a strategy of how to make that happen. I can tell you a couple of mine. I've gone through this and I've had to face it and ask God to show me. And there's a couple of them that were pretty strong. One of them was that, we all go, maybe not all of us, but I know I went through a very homely stage.
Very what?
Around 7th grade. I had braces, I had Holly Hobby glasses, I had feathered hair. I thought I was pretty, because my mom always said I was pretty. But I had a crush on this boy that was about the same age as realized that I had made an unbiblical vow that I would prove that I was attractive, that I would prove that I was beautiful, that I would prove that the opposite sex would be attracted to me. And so I eventually got my glasses off, got contacts, got the braces off, started caring more about my appearance. Well, I used that to get the attention that and I've shared that with you too, that insatiable attention that I wanted. And I used my now growing sexuality and my looks to try to get that attention. That took me so far off the path that God had for me, because that's when I would drink, and drinking was to remove any inhibitions, so I would quickly become the center of attention and get all the guys looking at me. I would flirt. Even when I was married, I flirted with other guys. I dirty danced with them, like at clubs and stuff like that. Yeah. With my husband watching. I'm telling you that this vow that I didn't even realize I had taken, that I was going to prove that I was beautiful. I was going to prove that I was attracted to the opposite sex. I was going to prove it. And it led me to have many, many bad choices, and also get in some very not good positions. And I shared one of those with you on my So it can take you so far off the course of the plan that God has for you. These unbiblical vows that we make, and it comes from a root, some kind of hurt in our lives. But we make that vow, and whether it's conscious or not, most often it's not. We don't even realize we've done that. Then we form a strategy of how we get what it is that we want fulfilled. And before you know it, way far away from the Lord. Another one I shared in the Bible study, another root or a lie or an issue with me was my grandpa had said that I couldn't make any money in art. There was no money to be made in art. And I wanted to be an artist my whole life, ever since I was 2. And so him saying that made me, again, I didn't realize this until recently, I made an unbiblical vow that said, I will prove that you can make a lot of money in art. And I set out to do just that, without realizing how much it cost in the rest of my life, because my husband still makes fun of me when I was in college. I would complain because I said, I am working so hard at this art that I should get paid for this. And he said, what? Are your good grades enough? I said, no, I should be getting paid because I'm working so hard. And as soon as I got out of college and I got my first job at an ad agency, and I was making, this would be 1993, they started me at $15 an hour, and I thought, so cool. And then I worked my way up to be an art director, and in about 2 years into it, I got burned out, and I went to be a freelancer, and I was making $50 an hour, and I thought I really, really had made it. And I would boast to my husband and say, because if we looked at the tax returns, I had made more than him 1 year, and he's a naval officer, so I was really, really proud of that. But you can see where I was just being led astray. I was being led astray by this unbiblical vow I had made that I will prove that you can make money in art, and I did everything it took. Now, when things in my life later came about, my worth was also wrapped up in that, and I shared that with you. And so, when I was just going to be a stay-at-home mom, that was really hard on me. You don't make money being a mom. I wish I could. But, that really affected me because, again, I was going to prove who I was and what I was worth through how much money I made. And now, as a stay-at-home mom, I wasn't making any. So that was from those two examples how easy it is to get led astray. If we've been hurt by a pronouncement made over us or a lie that comes into our lives, then we can make those unbiblical vows, get way off track, and before we know it, we're so far gone away from God's plan. So we need to, if you haven't already dealt with it this week, I would highly encourage you to really, really dig in and ask God, where am I off? Where have I maybe made an unbiblical vow in the past, and now I'm carrying it out through a strategy, and it's taking me far away from you? The bottom line of it is, again, it's sort of like a protection. It's something that we put up to protect ourselves from further hurt. But it's so wrong because it's trusting in self. It's trusting in ourselves instead of the Lord. And we need to let Him show us these things so that we can purposely renounce them. We need to be done with them, put them aside, so that we can truly find the healing that we so long for in Christ. So these things are just some of the things the obstacles that can come up in our lives that will prevent us from having that healing that we so desperately want. You know, our thoughts, as they come in, can quickly lead us astray. We really need to take them captive, as the Lord says in 2 Corinthians 10:3-5. For though we live in the world, we do not wage war as the world does. The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God. And we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. You know, if we can stop those thoughts at the gateway of our minds, right there, and get it out, any lies that come against those pronouncements, the faster that you can get rid of it and renounce it, the sooner you will get back to that place of just trusting in the Lord and not going your own little way, saying, you know, when you're hurt, building up these unbiblical vows or strategies. God's word is so important in our lives. It's so necessary to know what it is that He is saying to us. It's right. We must know it. And Psalm 119:11 says, I have hidden your word in my heart that I might not sin against you. The more we know of God and His truth, the easier it will be to get rid of those thoughts or lies or pronouncements that try to come against us and take us off on a path that we maybe never even intended to go to. So that deals a little bit with unbiblical vows and strategies. There's also an obstacle to your healing in the area of a pronouncement. And a pronouncement is a defining statement, and it's often made by an authority figure. So someone over us, when you're growing up, it could be a parent, an uncle, a teacher, a pastor. And it calls forth an identity or places us in bondage. And it could be spoken words. It could be people saying things very blatantly to us that you're ugly, you're stupid, you're never going to amount to anything. Those are examples of pronouncements that are spoken. But just as dangerous can be attitudes towards us. We don't even realize it. That was kind of what Bill shared in his testimony. It wasn't anything that his mother said to him, but her actions and her attitudes made him feel that he wasn't worth much, because she wouldn't spend money on him or things that he liked. So he felt that he wasn't worth much. So it can be both an attitude or an actual spoken words. An example in a book that I read is a woman that was really struggling, trying to prepare. She was in women's ministry and she was trying to prepare a message for it, and she just couldn't get it. It wouldn't come. She felt a block. Well, she talked to pastor about it that deals with these sort of things. And so they explored it. They asked the Lord to show her what it was in her life that made her think that she can't do this. So it came to pass that when she looked back on her childhood, she had a sister, and her mom would have both of them clean, do their different chores around the house and clean the house. Well, whenever the mom came to the part that she cleaned, she never said anything to her, but she just kind of re-cleaned it. And what that told this girl was, I can't do anything good enough on my own. So when she realized that that was a pronouncement made over her, she actually renounced it. And shortly thereafter, she was able to write that message that she felt a block before, because she got rid of that pronouncement. And again, it wasn't anything spoken. And I can pretty much almost guarantee that her mother certainly wouldn't have meant to hurt her like that. But nonetheless, that's how she took it. And so her mom's attitude made her feel that she was never good enough to do anything on her own. So I shared about in my own life that boy that was the same thing. He didn't ever say to me, "You're ugly, Amy." He never said it out loud. But just him not wanting to be around me and just kind of staying away from me and not returning any of my affections, his attitudes towards me made me feel that I was ugly. And so that led to all that unbiblical vow strategy. God's word could set us free when his truth, truly we take it in and we let it penetrate our hearts and override those pronouncements against us. So whatever it is that was against you, you can find God's truth that will negate the pronouncement. For me, in 1 Samuel 16:7, when it says that the Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. That encouraged me because, again, it wasn't so much, I didn't have to be so worried about how I look on the outside and trying to get the attention and the affection from others that I wanted, because what matters to God is what's going on the inside. That's actually why I grew my hair out. I was loving the attention that I got when it was platinum blonde and spiky, but I felt that I was doing it again, and I was getting too much attention for that. I love it when strangers on the street say, "You look like Meg Ryan," and I just eat it up. And I felt that I was going down that road again. And so I said, well, I'm just going to grow my hair out. But I would complain to my husband all the time, "I feel so mousy and boring, and I don't like it." I want to go back to the attention-getting hair. But it was more an act of obeying God in that area and just letting him show me that my worth doesn't come from how I look on the inside. It's more about him being concerned with what's going on inside. So when I was going through all these studies and God was showing me these unbiblical vows and all this stuff going on in my life, I asked God to speak his truth into my life, and he showed me that he wants to give me inner beauty and joy that comes from him. And he gave me this little phrase that I just clung to. If I let go of trying to control the outside, there is more room for him on the inside.
Can you say that again?
If I let go of trying to control the outside, there is more room for him on the inside. Isn't that beautiful? And that was just something that he spoke to my heart. And when Karen comes to share with us about creative quiet time with the Lord, we'll talk about that more, about how we can ask God to speak to us, and he's pleased to do so. And when he gives you these amazing little nuggets of his truth, it stays with you. It stays with you, and it helps you so much. Another at me from my husband. Again, I don't think he meant to hurt me, but it did very much hurt me for a long time. And it wasn't always what he spoke, but it was, again, his attitude. And it was that I can't cook. And he would do it as a teasing thing, sort of, but I took it to heart, and I thought, I can't cook. When these pronouncements come against you, if you believe them, then you act out the rest of your life based on them, whether they're true or not, and they are lies against us. So by him giving me the attitude that I can't cook and I believed him, then I just didn't want to try anymore. But God was working in my life, and I knew that he was showing me that part of being a biblical wife and mother was to prepare the meals for my family, because it was when Tim was working full time, and again, I was a stay-at-home mom. So, just as an aside, kielbasa, you know what kielbasa is? And green beans together do not taste good. Because that is exactly what I made one night, and that led to him going, you can't cook. But as I got closer to the Lord, I started to rely on him to tell me who I was in him. And it became more, I wanted to please the Lord and be a good wife and mother and be able to cook for my family. Problem is, because of those pronouncements, I had absolutely zero desire to cook, because I just felt like I'd always fail, so why even try? And so I would pray, the first thing I would pray was, Lord, will you just give me the desire, because I have this much, and there's no room between my fingers. And I would pray that over and over, and he answered. And over time, I was trying to practice cooking, and I'd have a few successes. And Tim has since, my husband has since seen that I can cook, and so he's had to, retract some of those things that he said. But the biggest victory came in that I didn't let that define who I was. And I let God define me. I let him help me and change me. And I did it as unto him. I wanted to be pleasing to the Lord. I did not make an unbiblical vow or strategy saying, who knows what that would turn out like. Maybe I'd try to think I was Martha Stewart or something and prove to him that I was, thankfully I didn't go down that road, because I'd been growing in the Lord a little by that time. But I instead I did it as unto the Lord to please him, and that was a much better way to go. I didn't have to make that unbiblical vow and strategy. So if we know God's word and we seek to please him, we can overcome those pronouncements in our lives, and will be less likely to make unbiblical vows and strategies and wrong choices. But if you do find that you have pronouncements made over you in your life, I strongly encourage you to take those to the Lord and use that sample prayer of renouncing pronouncements over you, so you can put that behind you again and move forward towards the Lord and the healing that he has for you. The last thing that could come against us is, as an obstacle, is burdens that we haven't fully given to him. There's times when we struggle with repetitive emotional pain, which we just have a lot of trouble getting free from. It could be something like persistent struggle with anger, self-hatred, grief over a painful loss, a performance orientation, perfectionism, or any other area of bondage. Psalm 55:22 says, "Cast your cares on the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never let the righteous be shaken." So we may have thought we've given certain burdens to the Lord, so why are we still struggling with them? Why do they keep coming back? It may be because we haven't fully, truly given it to Him or trusted Him with it. It could be that it's your protection mode, this burden. If you have this anger, you feel like, well, it protects me. It protects me from people getting too close to me if I have that. Or, other things that are protection mechanisms. So we're afraid to fully give it to the Lord because we're thinking, well, then what will we be left with? Where's our protection? And that's when we have to realize that we're not fully trusting Him. Now, the burden that I struggle with is performance. I still feel like I have to be good enough, do things right, or in order for God to love me. I still struggle with that. And so that's an example of a burden that I haven't fully, it keeps cropping up. I thought I dealt with it. But it'll come back in sneaky ways, in different ways. And it's because that performance, I feel, defines who I am. I'm a good artist, or speaker, or singer, or a writer, whatever. If that's taken away, then what am I? Who am I? But that's not truth. That's a lie. I am worthy just because I am God's child, because He made me, because He loves me, I am His. Nothing else. It's not based on my performance. But I struggle with that, and I come up against that over and over. So it's something that, if there's something in your life that keeps coming up, keeps cropping up, I encourage you again to really talk to Him about that. Say, why am I not fully trusting You, Lord? Can You show me how to trust You in this area? And if I give up this thing that I feel, this burden, this thing that I think is protecting me, what will You replace it with? And He'll show you. In my life, when I brought this up with the Lord, He said, if I give up trying to perform for Him, He'll give me His peace. And in John 14:27, in the Amplified version, it reads like this: Peace I leave with you, my own peace I now give and bequeath to you. That's like, this is Jesus talking to His disciples when He's about to go back to the Father. He's saying, I'm giving it. Bequeath is like someone giving it to you that's, in their will. It was mine. I'm completely giving it to you to have. And it says, not as the world gives do I give to you. Do not let your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid. And the Amplified goes on to say, stop allowing yourselves to be agitated and disturbed, and do not permit yourselves to be fearful and intimidated and cowardly and unsettled. In the Living Bible, that same verse reads like this: I am leaving you with a gift, peace of mind and heart, and the peace I give isn't fragile like the peace the world gives. So don't be troubled or afraid. I thought about that today. Peace with the world, they can't. It's counterfeit. It's temporary. It's always being shattered, our peace. This peace we think we have from the world. Jesus gives us the real deal. That peace that lasts forever. That abiding peace. And He told me specifically, if I give up trying to perform, jump through hoops for Him, I'll have His peace. So, in conclusion to all this, if you're feeling stuck and not finding the healing that you so desperately want, take a look at some of these obstacles that were mentioned tonight that might be hindering you. Last week was such a powerful